The 1970s weren't just a decade, they were a world of their own for black kids. A time of soul-shaking music, bold fashion, community pride, and moments so powerful they left permanent marks on an entire generation. But which memories truly defined that era? Today, we're unlocking 23 unforgettable experiences that every African-American child of the 70s still carries in their heart. Get ready. The nostalgia will hit you hard. Number 1. Afros, dashikis, natural hair movement. Wearing afros, dashikis, and embracing natural hair wasn't just a style trend for black kids in the 1970s, it was a declaration of pride, power, and identity. This was the era when young people boldly pushed back against the pressure to imitate white beauty standards. Instead, they leaned into their African roots with confidence. The afro rose to legendary status, becoming a living symbol of black strength and individuality. Kids and teens wore their hair big, bold, and beautifully natural, turning every curl into a statement of dignity. Dashikis, with their bright colors and rich African patterns, also became a cultural badge of honor. Wearing them was more than fashion. It was a way for young people to reconnect with their ancestry and visibly claim their heritage in a world that often tried to silence it. Parents, teachers, and community elders championed this movement, reminding kids that their culture, their hair, and their identities were not only valid, they were magnificent. Number 2. Good times. The Evans family. Seeing black families on primetime television through shows like Good Times was revolutionary for black kids growing up in the 1970s. Before this moment, meaningful portrayals of black family life were almost non-existent. But this series changed everything by bringing the Evans family into living rooms across America, showing their daily lives in a Chicago housing project with honesty, humor, and heart. Kids instantly connected with JJ, Thelma, and Michael as they faced real-world struggles and celebrated small victories. What made the show powerful was its willingness to tackle tough issues, poverty, racism, generational conflict, while still offering warmth and laughter. For black children watching at home, it was the first time they saw a family that truly resembled their own on television. It made them feel recognized, understood, and valued. Families would gather each week, sharing conversations about the episodes and relating the Evans experiences to their own. Good Times wasn't just entertainment, it was representation that deeply mattered. Number 3. Soul Train, Don Cornelius. Watching Soul Train every Saturday morning was more than entertainment for black kids in the 1970s. It was a cultural ritual that united entire communities. Under the smooth guidance of Don Cornelius, the show became a weekly celebration of black music, dance, and unapologetic style unlike anything else on television at the time. Kids would race through their Saturday chores just to grab a spot in front of the TV, anxious to see their favorite performers and watch the iconic Soul Train line come alive with dancers showing off electrifying moves. From legendary groups like The Temptations to soulful icons such as Marvin Gaye, the show showcased the very best of soul, funk, and rhythm and blues. For black children everywhere, Soul Train was living proof that their music, their creativity, and their culture were powerful and worthy of celebration. It wasn't just a TV program, it was a weekly affirmation of black excellence shining brightly for the world to see. Number 4. The Jackson 5. Michael Jackson. Watching the Jackson 5 take over radio and television was a magical experience for black kids in the 1970s. Led by the electrifying Michael Jackson, the group exploded onto the scene with explosive energy, irresistible harmonies, and dance moves that kids everywhere tried to copy in front of their mirrors. Songs like I Want You Back and ABC played non-stop, turning every living room into a mini concert as children gathered around the TV to watch their latest performance. The appeal of the Jackson 5 was more than talent. They were young, relatable, and living proof that black kids could rise to global superstardom. For many children, seeing them on television felt like seeing a brighter, more hopeful version of themselves. Their color-coordinated outfits, sharp choreography, and undeniable charm made them icons for an entire generation. They didn't just entertain, they inspired, showing that passion, discipline, and creativity could break barriers and captivate the whole world. Number 5. Black-owned barbershops and beauty salons. Visiting black-owned barbershops and beauty salons was a defining part of childhood for black kids in the 1970s. These spots were far more than places to get a trim or a fresh style. They were social sanctuaries where culture, conversation, and community came alive. Barbershops buzzed with energy as men debated sports, local news, politics, and civil rights, their voices weaving together like a living soundtrack. Kids sat quietly on cracked leather chairs, soaking in every joke, every story, every piece of hard-earned wisdom passed from one generation to the next. Beauty salons carried a similar magic. Young girls watched as mothers, aunties, and stylists transformed hair while building confidence, sisterhood, and pride with every braid and curl. The familiar scent of hair products, the steady hum of clippers, and the warmth of friendly faces made these places feel like home. Black-owned shops didn't just groom people, they strengthened communities, created jobs, and inspired pride in local black businesses. Number 6. Funk music, Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Ohio Players. Listening to funk music from groups like Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Ohio Players was a defining part of black childhood in the 1970s. Funk wasn't just a sound, it was an attitude, a cultural wave, and a bold celebration of black creativity and freedom. Thumping bass lines, blazing horn sections, and irresistible grooves made it impossible to stay still. Kids danced in living rooms, at block parties, and anywhere a record player or radio was blasting. Parliament Funkadelic delivered psychedelic costumes, wild stage shows, and a sound so original, it felt like it came from another universe. Earth, Wind, and Fire blended funk with soul, jazz, and disco, creating timeless anthems like September and Shining Star. Meanwhile, Ohio Players lit up the charts with hits such as Fire and Love Roller Coaster. For black youth, funk was pure pride, joy, and unstoppable energy. A soundtrack that made the world feel alive. Number 7. Kwanzaa, African heritage and family traditions. Celebrating Kwanzaa in black households became a powerful tradition throughout the 1970s, carrying deep meaning for families seeking to reconnect with their heritage. This week-long celebration, held from December 26 to January 1st, honored African culture, community values, and ancestral pride. For many black families, it offered a much-needed space to teach their children about unity, purpose, and collective responsibility, principles rooted in the Nguzo Saba. Each evening, families gathered to light a candle on the Kinara, reflecting on the principle of the day. Kids joined in with handmade crafts, joyful songs, drumming, and storytelling that blended African traditions with their lived African American experience. Homes were decorated in vibrant red, black, and green, filled with the aroma of traditional dishes and meaningful gifts focused on creativity and heritage rather than materialism. For black children in the 1970s, Kwanzaa was far more than a holiday. It was a celebration of identity, a tribute to ancestors, and a source of pride that strengthened their connection to who they were. Number 8. Blaxploitation films, Shaft, Superfly. Watching the rise of blaxploitation films like Shaft and Superfly was an electrifying yet complicated experience for black kids in the 1970s. These films introduced bold black heroes who were stylish, fearless, and unapologetically in control. The leather-clad detective from Shaft, with his swagger and razor-sharp confidence, became an instant icon who confronted injustice on his own terms. Meanwhile, Superfly pulled audiences into the gritty realities of street life, powered by a soundtrack that defined an era. For many black children, seeing powerful black protagonists on the big screen felt groundbreaking. These weren't background characters, comic relief, or stereotypes. They were leading men who demanded respect and dominated every scene. Yet the excitement came with debate. Some in the Black community celebrated these films for breaking barriers and showcasing strength, while others questioned whether they glamorized harmful images and lifestyles. Blaxploitation cinema was thrilling, controversial, and unforgettable, a cultural moment that reshaped how Black kids saw themselves and their potential. Number 9. Schoolhouse Rock. Saturday morning education. Watching Schoolhouse Rock on Saturday mornings was a universal childhood ritual in the 1970s, and Black kids were just as eager to tune in. Between their favorite cartoons, these short, colorful segments burst onto the screen with unforgettable songs like I'm Just a Bill, Conjunction Junction, and 3 is a Magic Number. Through catchy melodies and playful animation, the show turned lessons in grammar, math, and civics into pure fun. For Black children, these lively musical lessons were the perfect break between cartoons, learning without even realizing it. The tunes stuck in their minds long after the TV was turned off, helping them recall everything from multiplication tables to sentence structure. What made Schoolhouse Rock truly special was its ability to reach kids of every background, making education feel like entertainment rather than homework. Families often sang along together, and kids proudly shared what they learned with friends and teachers. Even though the show wasn't focused on Black culture, it became a beloved part of the Saturday morning tradition that brought joy, creativity, and knowledge into Black households across America. Number 10. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Black Sports Heroes. Watching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and other Black athletic legends dominate their sports was a tremendous source of pride for Black kids in the 1970s. Kareem wasn't just a basketball star, he was a towering symbol of brilliance, discipline, and cultural confidence. His iconic skyhook seemed impossible to defend, and every graceful shot inspired young fans to dream beyond the limits placed on them. Alongside him, athletes like Muhammad Ali, Hank Aaron, and O.J. Simpson became household names, showcasing the full power of Black excellence on the world stage. These men were more than their records or championships. They represented determination, resilience, and the courage to rise above barriers. For Black children watching from living rooms and playgrounds, seeing heroes who looked like them achieve greatness wasn't just exciting, it was life-changing. It gave them role models, hope, and the belief that they too could reach extraordinary heights. Number 11. Richard Pryor, The Comedy Revolution. Listening to Richard Pryor's groundbreaking comedy albums and watching his electric stand-up performances was an experience that echoed through Black households in the 1970s. Pryor wasn't just funny, he was fearless. He spoke with raw honesty about race, poverty, relationships, and the everyday realities of Black life in America. His unfiltered humor pushed boundaries that other performers avoided, making people burst into laughter while confronting hard truths at the same time. For Black kids old enough to catch the deeper meaning behind the jokes, hearing Pryor was like hearing their own communities reflected with razor-sharp wit and unmatched storytelling. Parents often waited until the little ones were asleep to play his albums, but older children would overhear bits and become mesmerized by his rhythm, his courage, and his unmistakable voice. Pryor reshaped the entire comedy landscape, proving that Black stories, spoken with authenticity and vulnerability, deserved center stage. His influence stretched far beyond punchlines. He empowered a generation to speak boldly, laugh loudly, and embrace their truth. Number 12. Ebony and Jet magazines, Black media power. Having Ebony and Jet lying on the coffee table was a defining part of life for Black families in the 1970s. These publications weren't just magazines, they were windows into Black excellence, culture, and achievement at a time when mainstream media rarely highlighted it. Ebony delivered rich, in-depth stories about influential leaders, rising entertainers, and everyday heroes shaping the community. Meanwhile, Jet offered quick, powerful updates on the latest news, civil rights victories, and cultural moments that mattered most. Families waited eagerly for the newest issue, flipping through pages filled with vibrant photos, thoughtful interviews, and advertisements that reflected their own lives and aspirations. For kids, these magazines provided something priceless: images of Black people succeeding, thriving, and making history. They showcased everything from politics and social justice to beauty, fashion, and entertainment, offering a full and affirming snapshot of Black life in America. Many parents saved their favorite issues, building archives that documented milestones and memories. In households across the country, Ebony and Jet were trusted sources that kept families informed, inspired, and connected to their culture. Number 13. Motown Records, the sound of Black excellence. Listening to artists from Motown Records, who were still ruling the music charts, was a powerful source of pride for Black kids in the 1970s. Even though the label's golden era began in the 1960s, Motown kept delivering timeless hits that echoed through Black households everywhere. Icons like Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, The Supremes, and Marvin Gaye remained cultural giants whose voices shaped the decade. Songs such as Superstition, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and What's Going On became emotional touchstones, anthems that spoke directly to the heart of the Black community. For kids, those smooth melodies and soulful grooves offered a sense of connection, pride, and belonging. Motown wasn't just a label, it was a cultural force and a shining symbol of Black creativity at its finest. Families gathered around record players, dancing, singing, and celebrating together. The music brought joy, unity, and comfort, a feeling so powerful that today's generation can only imagine its impact. Number 14. Sunday Church, Hats, Choirs, and Community. Attending Sunday church services in the 1970s was a beloved ritual for Black kids, a weekly tradition wrapped in elegance, music, and community. Church wasn't just a place to pray, it was the beating heart of the neighborhood where families gathered to celebrate their faith, uplift one another, and find renewed strength after a long week. Sunday mornings were a visual delight as women arrived in breathtaking hats of every shape and color, transforming the sanctuary into a runway of style, dignity, and pride. Children stepped out in their finest clothes, fully aware that this day demanded respect, good manners, and their best behavior. But nothing compared to the power of the choir. Their voices soared in harmony, filling the room with gospel songs that shook the soul, music that made people cry, shout, and leap to their feet in pure joy. While long sermons could test a child's patience, the warmth of the community made every moment worthwhile. Church taught them discipline, faith, love, and the importance of belonging to something bigger than themselves. Number 15. Plastic furniture covers, Black household traditions. Seeing plastic covers stretched tightly over living room couches was almost a universal experience in Black households during the 1970s. Those clear, crinkly shields weren't just decorations, they were guardians of the good furniture, preserving every cushion and corner so the set would stay flawless for years. For many families, buying a living room suite was a major investment, and protecting it was non-negotiable. Kids quickly learned the unspoken rule: the furniture with plastic on it wasn't for everyday lounging, it was reserved for company, special occasions, or those rare Sunday dinners when the whole family dressed up. Sitting on those couches came with its own memorable challenges: the sticky grip of plastic on your legs, the squeaks every time you shifted, and the warmth that built up underneath during the summer heat. Yet, being allowed in that formal living room felt special, almost ceremonial. The plastic covers became a quiet symbol of pride, care, and the desire to keep the home looking its very best. To today's generation, the idea might seem strange, but for Black kids growing up in the 1970s, plastic-wrapped furniture was simply part of the rhythm of home life, a reminder of love, discipline, and the value of preserving what you had. Number 16. Black Panther free breakfast programs. Participating in the breakfast programs created by the Black Panther Party was a transformative experience for many black kids in the 1970s. These early morning gatherings were far more than a place to get a hot meal. They were lifelines for children in underserved neighborhoods. The Panthers launched their free breakfast initiative to make sure every child started the day with nourishment and dignity. For kids who didn't always have food waiting at home, these meals were nothing short of life-saving. Volunteers rose before dawn to cook eggs, grits, toast, and juice, serving each plate with warmth and respect. Children met in churches, community centers, and school cafeterias, eating side by side while building friendships and a sense of belonging. Families often joined in, creating an atmosphere of unity and support. But the program fed more than stomachs. It fed minds and spirits, teaching kids powerful lessons about community, self-sufficiency, and activism. For many, this was their first glimpse of how people could come together, share responsibility, and create real change. The breakfast program showed black children that their lives, voices, and futures truly mattered. Number 17. Disco roller skating, black-owned rinks. Going disco roller skating at black-owned rinks was one of the most thrilling experiences a black kid could have in the 1970s. These rinks were more than weekend hangouts. They were vibrant cultural hubs pulsing with life, music, and young joy. Flashing lights bounced off smooth wooden floors while DJs filled the air with the hottest disco, funk, and soul tracks of the decade. Kids would lace up their skates, step onto the rink, and instantly feel the electricity in the room. Every glide, spin, and sharp turn became a chance to show off, impress friends, or catch the eye of a quiet crush. The couple's skate was a legendary moment. The lights dimmed, the music softened, and nervous excitement filled the rink as kids hoped someone special would skate beside them. What made black-owned rinks especially meaningful was the sense of safety and belonging they provided. Families came together on weekend nights, cheering, laughing, and creating memories. For black kids in the 1970s, roller skating wasn't just a hobby, it was a cultural celebration wrapped in music, community, and pure, unforgettable fun. Number 18. The wooden spoon, household discipline. Knowing that the wooden spoon was the universal discipline tool was an undeniable reality for black kids growing up in the 1970s. In many homes, that simple kitchen utensil had a double identity. It stirred pots during the day and served as a symbol of authority whenever boundaries were crossed. Parents and grandmothers kept one within arm's reach, and often, they didn't have to use it at all. One look, one tap on the counter, or one slow reach toward the drawer was usually enough to correct any misbehavior on the spot. Kids learned early that talking back, ignoring instructions, or pushing limits came with consequences, and the wooden spoon played a memorable role in enforcing those lessons. But the discipline wasn't rooted in cruelty. It came from a place of structure, love, and the desire to raise respectful, responsible children. Over time, the wooden spoon became legendary, a shared cultural reference that adults now recall with a mix of humor, disbelief, and respect. Today's youth might shake their heads at the idea, but for black kids in the 1970s, that wooden spoon wasn't just a household item, it was part of everyday life. A reminder that rules mattered and elders meant what they said. Number 19. Double Dutch and hand clap games. Playing double Dutch and hand clap games in the neighborhood was a cherished daily ritual for black kids in the 1970s. These games demanded rhythm, coordination, and quick thinking, and they delivered endless fun. Double Dutch meant two ropes whipping in opposite directions while brave jumpers timed their entry perfectly, landing in the center with smooth hops, dazzling tricks, and catchy rhymes. The steady slap of ropes against the pavement mixed with the chorus of kids chanting became the soundtrack of warm summer afternoons and after-school gatherings. Hand clap games like Miss Mary Mac were just as beloved. Kids created fast, intricate patterns, memorizing lyrics and beating the rhythm with perfect timing. These simple games brought children together, building friendships, confidence, and a sense of community that didn't require gadgets or money. All they needed was a bit of rope, nimble hands, and an imagination full of possibility. Today's generation might struggle to understand the magic in such simplicity, but for black kids in the 1970s, double dutch and hand clap games weren't just pastimes, they were essential pieces of childhood joy. Number 20. Corner stores. Black-owned community shops. Shopping at black-owned corner stores was a daily ritual for black kids in the 1970s, a small but meaningful part of neighborhood life. These tiny shops carried everything: candy, snacks, bread, milk, soap, and all the essentials families needed throughout the week. For kids, the corner store represented freedom and excitement. With a few coins of allowance in their pockets, they rushed in to grab now and later's penny candy, ice pops, or whatever sweet treat caught their eye. The store owners usually knew every family by name, greeting customers with warmth and familiarity that made the place feel like an extension of home. These businesses were far more than convenient stops. They were pillars of the community, providing jobs, supporting local families, and keeping money circulating within black neighborhoods. Kids often ran errands for their parents, picking up groceries and chatting with the owners along the way. The corner store was where neighbors exchanged news, kids laughed, and friendships were formed. For today's youth, that close-knit corner store culture may feel like a relic of the past. But for black kids growing up in the 1970s, it was a cherished slice of everyday life, simple, joyful, and full of community. Number 21. 1970s fashion. Platform shoes and bell-bottom jeans. Wearing platform shoes and bell-bottom jeans was the ultimate fashion statement for black kids in the 1970s. These bold, flamboyant styles showed up everywhere, from school hallways and playgrounds to weekend block parties, representing confidence, individuality, and a deep connection to the era's vibrant culture. Platform shoes added instant height and flair, their thick soles clacking dramatically with every step. Bell-bottoms, flaring wide at the ankle, created a silhouette that was instantly recognizable and effortlessly cool. For black youth, fashion wasn't just about clothes. It was a form of self-expression and pride. Kids mixed bright colors, funky prints, and eye-catching accessories to show off their personality and creativity. Many parents stitched or tailored outfits at home, ensuring their children looked sharp, polished, and ready to shine anywhere they went. The fashion of the 70s was loud, joyful, and unapologetically fun, reflecting the energy and optimism of the time. Today's generation might see these styles as over the top, but for black kids growing up in the 1970s, platforms and bell-bottoms weren't just trends, they were the height of cool. Number 22. Muhammad Ali. Beyond the boxing ring. Understanding Muhammad Ali's cultural impact beyond the boxing ring was something black kids in the 1970s felt on a personal level. Ali wasn't just the greatest fighter of his era. He was a symbol of black pride, resistance, and unapologetic courage. His refusal to fight in the Vietnam War, his embrace of Islam, and his fearless stance against racial injustice made him a hero whose influence reached far beyond sports. Kids admired not only his unmatched skill, but also his confidence, quick wit, and unwavering belief in doing what was right, even when it cost him his titles and popularity. Watching Ali's fights became community events. Families crowded around televisions and radios, cheering every jab, every dodge, every triumphant shout. His bold personality and unforgettable quotes made him seem larger than life, a living example of strength in every form, physical, moral, and emotional. For black children, Ali proved that being true to yourself was not a weakness but a superpower. He showed them that greatness wasn't just about winning matches, but about standing firm in your identity and your beliefs. Number 23. Hot combs, Sunday morning hair rituals. Smelling a hot comb heating on the stove was a sensory experience black kids of the 1970s will never forget. Sunday mornings often meant preparing for church, and for many girls, that included the weekly ritual of getting their hair straightened. The sharp scent of hot metal sliding through hair grease and natural curls filled the kitchen, a smell that was equal parts comforting and nerve-wracking. Kids knew the rules. Sit still, hold your ear down, and don't flinch. One wrong move could mean a little burn on the forehead or the tip of an ear. Mothers and grandmothers moved with practiced precision, transforming tangled curls into smooth, glossy strands, while passing down lessons about beauty, care, and patience. The process took time, but it connected generations, a tradition rooted in pride and presentation. And even as the natural hair movement grew stronger, many families still saw the hot comb ritual as essential for special occasions. For Black kids in the 1970s, that unforgettable smell wasn't just about hair. It was the scent of Sunday routines, family closeness, and the loving effort that went into helping them look their very best. Thank you for taking this journey with us through the unforgettable moments of Black childhood in the 1970s. If these memories brought you joy, nostalgia, or a deeper appreciation for our history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss what's coming next. We have many more powerful stories, cultural reflections, and hidden gems on the way. Stay tuned. The next video will take you even deeper into the past.